The bridge of the Endurance hummed quietly as Captain Emma Hayes reviewed the day's reports. 3 months into their exploration mission, and they had found nothing but empty space and distant stars. It was peaceful work, exactly what she had signed up for. "Captain, we have contacts," Lieutenant James Parker called out from his station. His voice was tight with worry. "Lots of them." Emma walked quickly to his console. "How many?" 127 ships. They are surrounding us right now." Emma felt her stomach drop as the view screen came to life. Ships appeared everywhere she looked. Dozens and dozens of warships, each one massive and covered in weapons. They bore the red markings of the Vraxian Imperial fleet. Each vessel was 10 times larger than the Endurance. Their weapon arrays glowed like the teeth of predators waiting to strike. "Battle stations," Emma said quietly. "But nobody fires unless I give the order. Open a communication channel." Beth Morrison worked her console quickly. "Channel open, Captain." The view screen changed to show a face that looked almost human, except for the ridge-lined forehead and glowing amber eyes. Commander Raxos of the Vraxian Empire stared down at them with clear contempt in his expression. "Human vessel Endurance," Raxos said, his voice dripping with superiority. "You are in violation of our territorial space. Your ship contains experimental technology that threatens the safety of the galaxy. You will power down your systems immediately and prepare to be boarded by our forces." Emma kept her face calm and neutral. "Commander Raxos, we are in neutral space according to every treaty we have signed. The Endurance is an exploration vessel on a peaceful mission. We have broken no laws." "Your peaceful mission ends now," Raxos replied coldly. "Your quantum drive technology is too dangerous for a species as young as yours to possess. The Galactic Coalition agrees with us. Surrender now, or we will take your ship by force. You have no choice in this matter." Behind Emma, Chief Engineer Robert Webb muttered under his breath. "Like hell we will." Emma raised her hand for silence. "Commander, I need time to consult with my crew and verify your claims with Coalition authorities. This is a serious matter." Raxos's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You have 1 hour. After that, we begin boarding your ship. Do not test my patience, human." Raxos out. The view screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody on the bridge spoke. Then Emma turned to face her crew. 43 faces looked back at her. Some showed fear, some showed anger, but all of them waited for her orders. "Robert, I need you in engineering immediately. Beth, start recording everything that happens. Every word they say, every scanner reading we get. If they are going to claim we are a threat, I want proof that we did nothing wrong." She paused and looked at each of her officers. "And someone wake up Dr. Helen Foster. If we are going to talk our way out of this situation, I need to understand how these Vraxians think." As her crew moved quickly to their tasks, Emma returned to the view screen and stared at the fleet surrounding them. 127 warships against 1 exploration ship. The odds were completely impossible. But she had learned long ago that impossible was just another word for something that had not been done yet. Down in the engineering bay, Robert Webb pulled up glowing pictures of the quantum drive. His young assistant, Ensign Thomas Riley, leaned in close with wide eyes. "Can we outrun them, sir?" Thomas asked nervously. Robert shook his head. "Not with this many ships surrounding us. They would track our quantum signature and follow us wherever we jumped. But..." He zoomed in on one particular section of the drive's energy systems. "There might be another way to use it." "What are you thinking?" Robert's lips curved into a dangerous smile. "I am thinking we need to stop playing by their rules and start making our own." On the bridge, Dr. Helen Foster arrived. She was still pulling on her jacket, having been woken from a deep sleep when the alarm sounded. Now she looked at the tactical display showing their surrounded position and blinked in surprise. "They are boxing us in," she observed calmly. "This is a textbook intimidation formation. Very precise and very organized." "Too precise?" Emma asked. Helen studied the formation carefully for several seconds. "Possibly. The Vraxians are known for their rigid military thinking. Everything must be done by the book, every ship must be in perfect formation. It has served them well for many centuries." She glanced at Emma with a thoughtful expression. "But it also means they do not adapt well to chaos or unexpected situations." Emma filed that information away in her mind. "What about Raxos himself? Can we negotiate with him and reach some agreement?" "Very unlikely," Helen said seriously. "He has already made his demand in front of his entire fleet. If he backs down now, he loses face with his crews and his empire. He is locked into this course of action and cannot change his mind. Helen hesitated before continuing. Captain, I do not think he ever intended to let us go free. This is about making a statement to the galaxy. He wants to show everyone that humanity cannot be trusted with advanced technology. Then we will make a different statement, Emma said quietly. The hour passed with agonizing slowness. Beth Morrison tried every communication frequency available, attempting to reach anyone beyond the Vraxian blockade. Every single attempt was jammed and blocked. They are not just surrounding us, Beth reported with frustration in her voice. They are cutting us off completely from the rest of the galaxy. Nobody out there knows we are in trouble right now. Robert Webb came back from engineering with a grim expression on his face. Captain, I need to show you something important. In private, please. In her ready room, Robert laid out his desperate plan. Emma listened with growing disbelief and concern. You want to weaponize our own drive, she said finally when he finished explaining. Not weaponize exactly. Repurpose it. The quantum drive creates controlled distortions in spacetime to move us through space faster than light. But if we overload the containment field deliberately and redirect all that energy outward instead. Robert pulled up computer simulations on his data pad. We could create localized distortions all around our ship. Their sensors will not be able to find us accurately. Their weapons will not be able to target us properly. And if they are packed in such a tight formation when this happens, they will be shooting blind in a crowd of their own ships, Emma finished his thought. Her face was pale. Robert, this could burn out our drive completely and permanently. We would be stranded out here in deep space with no way to get home. Better stranded than dead or captured, Robert replied seriously. And Captain, I need to tell you something. I do not think Raxos is planning to let any of us survive this encounter. Dead humans cannot contradict whatever story he decides to tell the galaxy. Emma stared at the clock on her wall. Only 15 minutes remained of their 1 hour. Prepare your modifications to the drive, she said finally, her voice steady despite her fear. But nobody activates anything without my direct order. Do you understand? Yes, Captain. Understood. When the hour expired, Commander Raxos's face filled the view screen once more. His expression was cold and merciless. Your time is finished, Captain Hayes. What is your final decision? Emma stood tall with her crew at their stations behind her. My decision is that the Endurance remains a sovereign human vessel operating in neutral space. We will not surrender our ship or our technology to you. However, we are willing to continue diplomatic discussions through proper channels. Enough of your words. Raxos snarled, his face twisted with anger. You primitives are all exactly the same. You think your talking will save you from reality? He leaned forward menacingly. Let me teach you an important lesson about how this galaxy actually works. You are children playing with dangerous fire. Today, you will learn what happens to children who refuse proper discipline from their elders. All ships, target their engines and disable that vessel immediately. The screen went black. Weapons lock detected. James Parker shouted urgently. Multiple ships are powering up their weapons systems. Bright energy beams suddenly lanced through the darkness of space. The Endurance shuddered violently as the shots impacted their protective shields with tremendous force. Shields holding at 70%, Beth called out tensely. Enother direct hit like that and we will lose them completely. The ship lurched sideways with brutal force. Sparks erupted from a damaged console, and Ensign Thomas Riley cried out in pain as flying debris struck his shoulder hard. Shields failing rapidly. We have a hull breach on Deck 3. Emma gripped her command chair tightly as the bridge descended into controlled chaos around her. Red warning lights bathed everything in an angry crimson glow. Another massive impact shook the ship. Another violent lurch threw crew members against their stations. Her ship was being torn apart piece by piece. Emma looked directly at Robert Webb. The engineer met her eyes and nodded grimly, understanding what had to be done. All hands, brace yourselves for emergency maneuvers. Emma commanded firmly. Robert, do it now. Robert's fingers flew across his console with practice speed. Quantum drive overload initiating in 3, 2, 1. The Endurance began to hum with a sound that should not have been possible in the vacuum of space. A deep vibration that seemed to resonate in the bones of every crew member aboard. On his massive flagship, Commander Raxos smiled cruelly as he watched the human ship taking heavy damage on his screens. Cease fire immediately. Prepare all boarding parties. I want their captain brought to me alive so she can stand trial for her crimes. The rest of her crew is completely irrelevant to me. Then his sensor officer made a confused and worried sound that caught Raxos's attention. Sir, the human ship's quantum signature is spiking dramatically. I am reading massive energy fluctuations throughout their entire vessel. These readings are completely unprecedented. They are attempting to jump away, Raxos said dismissively, waving his hand. Our field inhibitors will easily prevent any quantum jump. They cannot escape us. Sir, they are not trying to jump to another location. They are doing something else entirely. Something I have never seen before. These readings do not make any sense at all according to known physics. On the main view screen, the Endurance began to flicker strangely. Its solid outline became uncertain and wavering, as if the ship was being viewed through violently turbulent water. Raxos leaned forward in his command chair, his earlier confidence finally beginning to waver. What are those humans doing to their ship? On the bridge of the Endurance, Emma Hayes watched her sensor displays go completely wild with impossible readings scrolling across every screen. All around their ship, the fabric of space itself was beginning to twist and distort in ways that defied normal reality. Captain, Helen Foster breathed in amazement and fear, I think we just threw away their entire rulebook. Emma allowed herself a thin, determined smile despite the danger. Good. Because I never liked their rules anyway. The quantum drive screamed with a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Down in engineering, Robert Webb watched energy readings climb into ranges that should not have been possible. The drive's containment field, designed to create a stable bubble for faster-than-light travel, was now being deliberately destabilized. Its massive power was being redirected outward in cascading waves of distorted spacetime. Temperature rising rapidly, Thomas Riley reported, sweat pouring down his forehead despite the cooling systems working at maximum capacity. Core integrity is down to 85% and falling. Keep it steady, Robert commanded, his hands moving across multiple control panels at once. We just needed to hold together long enough to work. On the bridge, the effect was immediate and completely disorienting. The view screen showed the Vraxian fleet, but now their ships seemed to warp and bend unnaturally. Their positions became uncertain and kept shifting. Sensor readings flickered wildly, showing the enemy vessels in multiple locations at the same time. They cannot get a weapons lock on us, James Parker said with amazement filling his voice. Their targeting computers are going completely haywire. They have no idea where we actually are. Emma watched the tactical display as confusion rippled through the Vraxian formation like a wave. Ships that had been in perfect geometric alignment just moments ago were now drifting randomly. Their commanders were clearly struggling desperately to understand what was happening to their sensors. Beth, are they still jamming our communications? Emma asked urgently. Beth Morrison shook her head while her fingers flew across her console. They are still trying to jam us, but Captain, I am picking up something new. The jamming field has gaps in it now. The quantum distortions we are creating are interfering with their signal integrity. Can you get a message out through those gaps? Maybe, if I can find exactly the right frequency and boost our signal strength enough, Beth said, biting her lip in deep concentration. It will be like threading a needle while riding a wild horse, but I will try my best. Emma turned to Helen Foster. Doctor, if you were Commander Raxos right now, what would you be thinking? Helen studied the view screen carefully, watching the Vraxian fleet's increasingly erratic and confused movements. Panic and confusion. He has built his entire military career on predictability and overwhelming force. We just introduced total chaos into his perfect formation. She paused thoughtfully. He will either pull back to regroup and rethink his strategy, or he will double down and attack even harder than before. And which response is more likely from him? Given what I know about Vraxian psychology and their concept of military honor. Helen's expression became grim. He will attack harder. Pulling back would be seen as terrible weakness by his own people. He will order his ships to fire on our last known position, and his perfect formation will not matter to him anymore. As if Helen's words had summoned it, weapons fire suddenly erupted from the Vraxian fleet. Brilliant energy beams and deadly missiles streaked through space in all directions, but without accurate targeting data, they flew wild and unpredictable. One powerful beam meant for the Endurance instead struck a Vraxian destroyer on the far side of the fleet. The destroyer's shields flared bright blue and then failed completely. They are hitting each other, James breathed in shock. Their formation is so tight that when they miss us, their weapons hit their own ships instead. Emma's jaw tightened painfully. She had hoped to buy time, maybe slip away quietly in all the confusion. She had not wanted this outcome. Casualties on that destroyer? James checked his sensors quickly. The ship is venting atmosphere into space. Looks like approximately 30 to 40 crew members were aboard that vessel. The bridge fell into heavy silence. Emma closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them again, her voice was steady and firm. This was not our choice. Remember that clearly. Raxos chose to fire blindly into his own formation. This is on him, not us. In the medical bay, Dr. William Foster worked frantically to stabilize the injured crew members. Thomas Riley's damaged shoulder, Lucy Martin's broken ribs from being thrown against a bulkhead, and Michael Torres who had burns from an exploding power conduit. The ship's constant vibration from the overloaded quantum drive was not making his difficult job any easier. Hold still, he told Lucy firmly as she tried to get up. You have 3 broken ribs. You are off active duty until I clear you. Like hell I am, Lucy grunted through obvious pain. The captain needs every person available right now. William gave her his sternest medical look. The captain needs you alive and functional, not collapsed in a corridor because you punctured a lung trying to be heroic. Now lie down. Back on the bridge, Beth Morrison suddenly let out a triumphant shout. I found it. I found a gap in their jamming field. Boosting our signal strength now and transmitting. Send everything we have, Emma ordered immediately. Tactical data, our complete logs, video recordings of Raxos's ultimatum. I want the entire galaxy to know exactly what happened here today. Transmitting on all Coalition emergency frequencies now, Beth confirmed, her hands moving rapidly. If anyone out there is listening and monitoring these channels. Someone will be listening, Emma said with more confidence than she actually felt inside. The question is whether they can arrive in time to help us. The Endurance shuddered violently again as a Vraxian missile detonated close enough for the powerful blast wave to rock the entire ship sideways. Shields down to 40%, James reported grimly. If they manage to land one direct hit on our hull. They will not land a direct hit, Emma said firmly, trying to project confidence to her crew. Robert, how is our drive holding up under this stress? Robert's voice crackled with interference over the communication system. We are deep in the red zone, Captain. Core temperature is climbing dangerously high. I can give you maybe 10 more minutes at most before we absolutely must shut down, or we risk a catastrophic containment breach that will destroy the ship. 10 minutes. Emma's mind raced through possibilities and options. 10 minutes to survive against an entire fleet of powerful warships whose commander was now desperate, humiliated, and increasingly reckless. On the Vraxian flagship, Commander Raxos stood absolutely rigid at his command station. His amber eyes blazed with pure fury as his bridge descended into complete chaos around him. Re-establish formation immediately, he roared at his officers. All ships, cease this random firing at once. Tactical officer, I want an accurate firing solution on that cursed human ship right now. Sir, we cannot get any stable readings, his tactical officer replied, obvious fear edging into his voice. The quantum distortions they are creating are generating false sensor images everywhere. Every targeting solution we calculate is completely wrong by the time our weapons actually fire. Then calculate your solutions faster. Raxos slammed his fist down hard on his console, denting the metal. They are one ship. One single primitive human vessel. We have 127 warships out here. Sir, we have lost all contact with 4 of our destroyers. 2 of them collided with each other trying to close formation, and 2 more were hit directly by fire from our own ships. What about the battlecruiser Dominance? Report. The tactical officer hesitated, clearly afraid to deliver more bad news. Heavy structural damage, sir. They are reporting significant casualties among their crew. Raxos felt the eyes of every officer on his bridge staring at him. He felt their doubt growing with each passing second. This entire operation should have been simple and straightforward. An overwhelming show of force, a quick capture of the human ship, an easy propaganda victory. Instead, it was rapidly turning into a complete disaster. And every second it continued, his hard-earned reputation crumbled further into dust. He made a desperate decision. All ships, break formation completely. Disperse to a 5-kilometer spread pattern and prepare for saturation fire. If we cannot target them with precision, then we will fill the entire area with so much weapons fire that they cannot possibly dodge everything we throw at them. His tactical officer looked absolutely horrified at the order. Sir, that amount of destructive firepower concentrated in such close proximity to our own ships means that if any of our vessels are caught in the crossfire. Are you questioning my direct orders? Raxos's voice was dangerously quiet. No sir, but I must point out that. Then transmit my command to the fleet immediately. Now. As the Vraxian fleet began spreading out across space, preparing for their devastating barrage, Emma watched her tactical display with growing dread filling her chest. They are dispersing their formation, James said quietly. Getting ready for something big. Oh no. Captain, they are going to saturate this entire area of space with massive weapons fire. A random spread pattern. They do not need to target us accurately anymore if they simply cover every single possible position we could be in. Helen leaned forward, studying the changing Vraxian formation with her expert eye. They are sacrificing all their precision for overwhelming firepower instead. It is crude and wasteful, but against an opponent they cannot target properly. She looked at Emma with worry. It will work. We cannot survive that much fire. Emma's mind raced desperately through every option available. None of them were good. They could not maintain the quantum distortions much longer before the drive exploded. They could not outrun an entire fleet. They could not fight back because the Endurance was an exploration vessel with only minimal defensive weapons. But maybe there was one possibility. Robert, Emma said into the communication system. Can you modulate our quantum field? Make it directional instead of radiating outward in all directions. There was a long pause before Robert answered. Maybe? I would have to reconfigure the entire output system. What are you thinking, Captain? If we cannot hide from them and we cannot run away from them, then we need to move straight through them. Use the distortion field like a battering ram punching through their lines. Captain, that idea is completely insane. The stress on our hull structure will be less than what happens when they fill all of space around us with weapons fire, Emma interrupted firmly. Can you do it or not, Robert? Another pause, longer this time. Then Robert's voice came back. Give me 2 minutes to make the modifications. Emma looked around at her exhausted bridge crew. They were scared and tired, but still at their stations. Still trusting her completely to get them home safely. James, find me the weakest point in their formation right now. Helen, I need you to predict which ships will react slowest when we make our move. Beth, keep that transmission broadcasting. I want every single second of this recorded for history. Yes, Captain, they all responded together. Emma stood up, smoothing her uniform with steady hands. When Robert gives us the signal, we are going to do something incredibly stupid and desperate. We are going to fly straight at them at full speed. James's head snapped up in shock. Captain? They expect us to run away or keep hiding. They have spread out their formation to cover maximum area, which means they have also created gaps in their coverage. Emma pointed at the tactical display. We are going to punch through one of those gaps before they can react and close it. And then what happens? Helen asked quietly. Emma met her eyes steadily. Then we pray that help arrives before they hunt us down and destroy us. The Endurance leaped forward like a bullet fired from a massive gun. The quantum distortion field ahead of the ship tore through space itself, creating a corridor of twisted reality that completely baffled every sensor in the entire Vraxian fleet. On the bridge, the crew was thrown hard against their restraints as the ship's inertial dampeners struggled desperately to compensate for the violent maneuver. The view screen showed the 2 Vraxian battlecruisers growing larger with terrifying speed. Each massive warship bristled with countless weapons, and the Endurance was flying directly between them at full power. Incoming fire. James Parker shouted over the screaming alarms. They are trying to target us. Energy beams lanced out from both battlecruisers, but the quantum distortion field bent them away like light passing through a prism. Some shots curved back toward the very ships that had fired them. Others streaked wildly into empty space. A few struck other Vraxian vessels on the opposite side of the formation. Hold course. Emma commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. Robert, how is the drive holding up? Core temperature is critical. Robert's voice was badly strained. Hull stress at 90%. Captain, we cannot possibly maintain this for more than. The Endurance shot through the narrow gap between the battlecruisers. For one brief and utterly terrifying moment, the massive Vraxian ships filled the entire view screen. They were so close that Emma could see individual hull plates and weapon ports clearly. Then they were past, hurtling beyond the inner formation of the Vraxian fleet. We are through. James announced, complete disbelief coloring his voice. We actually made it through their lines. Do not celebrate yet, Emma said firmly. Beth, status on our transmission. Beth Morrison's face was pale but determined. Still broadcasting continuously. I am picking up something new. Captain, I am getting a response. Coalition frequencies, long-range communication. Someone out there heard our distress call. For the first time since this nightmare began, Emma felt a small flicker of hope. What is their estimated time of arrival? Unknown at this time. The transmission is badly fragmented and breaking up. But they definitely acknowledged our distress call and know our position. Behind them, the Vraxian fleet was in complete chaos. Commander Raxos's perfect formation had been utterly shattered. Ships were scattered across many kilometers of space. Several vessels showed heavy damage from friendly fire. And the human vessel they had been sent to capture had just performed an impossible maneuver right through the heart of their fleet. On the Vraxian flagship, Raxos stood frozen, staring at his tactical display in shock. His sensor officer's voice finally broke through his stunned silence. Sir, the human ship is beyond our inner perimeter now. They are heading for open space at maximum speed. Raxos's amber eyes burned with terrible humiliation and barely controlled rage. Everything was falling apart around him. His carefully planned operation had become a complete catastrophe. But if the humans escaped, if they survived to tell their version of these events to the galaxy, his career would be finished forever. Worse than that, he would be made an example of throughout the Empire. The commander who let a single human ship humiliate the mighty Vraxian fleet. All ships, Raxos said, his voice deadly quiet and cold. Pursuit course immediately. Maximum speed. I want every weapon charged and ready to fire. Sir, if we pursue them now, we will be leaving the disputed zone. We will be entering clearly marked neutral space. That would be a direct violation of. I do not care about neutral space. Raxos roared, his control finally breaking. That human ship dies today, along with everyone aboard it. Then we destroy all evidence and report that they attacked us without provocation first. Now execute my orders. The Vraxian fleet, battered and disorganized but still powerful and formidable, turned as one massive force and began accelerating after the fleeing Endurance. On the human ship, alarms were blaring on every single deck. The quantum drive, pushed far beyond its design limits, was rapidly failing. In engineering, Robert Webb and his team worked with desperate speed, rerouting power, venting dangerous heat, doing everything they could to keep the drive from exploding. We are losing containment. Thomas Riley shouted over the terrible noise. Field integrity down to 30% and dropping fast. Robert's hands flew across his console. Shut down the directional focus completely. Return to standard drive configuration now. We need to limp along, not sprint. Shutting down directional focus now. The quantum field collapsed suddenly. The Endurance became fully visible to every sensor, its position fixed and easily trackable. On the bridge, James Parker's face fell as he read his instruments. Captain, they are coming after us. All of them. And our quantum drive. He looked up, meeting Emma's eyes directly. We cannot jump to faster than light. The drive is too unstable. If we try to engage it now, we will tear ourselves apart from the inside. Emma felt the crushing weight of that reality settle over her like a physical burden. They were in open space, their experimental drive crippled and useless, and an entire fleet of angry Vraxians was bearing down on them. The Gambit had bought them precious time and distance, but it had not saved them. Conventional engines only, Emma ordered. Give me everything they have. Helen, how long until the Vraxians are in effective weapons range? Helen Foster was running rapid calculations on her console. At their current speed in hours, approximately 12 minutes. Possibly less. 12 minutes. Emma stood and paced the bridge, her mind working frantically through scenarios. They could not fight. They could not run. They could not hide. But they could still send a message. Beth, is that coalition signal still responding to us? Yes. It is intermittent and weak, but they are definitely out there somewhere. Tell them we are being actively pursued into neutral space by Vraxian military forces. Tell them. Emma hesitated, then continued with conviction. Tell them that if they want to see what happens when you push humanity into a corner, they should get here as fast as possible. Because we are not going down without making our mark on history. Beth's eyes widened, but she nodded and began transmitting urgently. The minutes crawled by with agonizing slowness. On the tactical display, the angry red icons representing the Vraxian fleet grew steadily closer. Emma could imagine Raxos on his flagship, savoring his anticipated victory, planning how he would spin this complete disaster into some kind of triumph. But then Beth Morrison sat up straight suddenly, pressing her earpiece closer to her head. Captain. I am picking up something new. Multiple quantum signatures, bearing 270 Mark IV. They are big. Really big ships. Vraxian reinforcements? James asked, his voice tight with fear. Negative. The signatures do not match Vraxian drive technology at all. They are. Beth's eyes widened in shock. Captain, I think it is the Coalition fleet. On the view screen, space suddenly rippled like water. One by one, massive ships dropped out of quantum drive. Sleek vessels that dwarfed even the largest Vraxian battlecruisers materialized around them. They bore the multi-species insignia of the Galactic Coalition Defense Force. Emma stood slowly, hardly daring to believe what she was seeing with her own eyes. How many ships? I count 15 vessels, James reported, his voice filled with relief. 3 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, and 4 support vessels. Captain, they are forming a defensive line between us and the Vraxian fleet. The Coalition vessels moved with practiced military precision, creating an impenetrable wall of firepower that the Vraxians would have to go through to reach the Endurance. Incoming transmission, Beth said breathlessly. Coalition frequencies. It is Admiral Catherine Price herself. Emma's heart leaped with hope. Admiral Price was one of humanity's representatives in the Coalition military, and she had a galaxy-wide reputation for never backing down from anyone. On screen, Emma ordered. The view screen shifted to show a woman in her 60s. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight military bun. Her uniform was immaculate despite the rapid emergency deployment. Admiral Price's expression was stern, but Emma could see genuine concern in her eyes. Captain Hayes, Admiral Price said. We received your distress call and all your data transmissions. Looks like you have had quite an interesting day out here. Emma felt a laugh bubble up in her throat, half relief and half hysteria. That is one way to describe it, Admiral. Stand down your engines and hold your current position. You are under Coalition protection now. Admiral Price's expression hardened like steel. As for Commander Raxos and his fleet, well, they are about to learn that attacking a Coalition vessel in neutral space has very serious consequences. Another window opened on the screen, showing Commander Raxos. His amber eyes were wide with shock. His earlier confidence had completely shattered. Admiral Price, Raxos began desperately, this is not what it appears to be. The humans were. Save it, Commander, Admiral Price interrupted coldly. We have been receiving Captain Hayes's continuous broadcast for the last 20 minutes. Video, audio, complete sensor logs, everything. We know exactly what this is. An unprovoked attack on an unarmed exploration vessel in neutral space, followed by an illegal pursuit. They have dangerous technology that they developed legally and that poses no threat to anyone unless attacked first, Admiral Price countered sharply. Which brings us to an interesting question, Commander. What do you think the Coalition Council will say when they review footage of you firing on an unarmed exploration ship? When they see you ordering your fleet to hunt it down after it escaped? Raxos's face went pale. You cannot. I can, and I will. You have 2 options now, Commander. 1, you withdraw your fleet immediately and return to Vraxian space, where you will answer to your own government for this disaster. 2, you continue your attack, and I will interpret that as an act of war against the Coalition itself. Admiral Price leaned forward. And Commander, I have 15 ships here right now, but there are 40 more within a day's travel. How many ships does the Vraxian Empire want to lose over one damaged exploration vessel? The silence stretched out endlessly. Emma watched Raxos's face cycle through emotions. Rage, humiliation, fear, and finally bitter defeat. We withdraw, Raxos said quietly. But this is not over. The Council will hear about the humans and their technology. The Council will hear about everything that happened here, Admiral Price said firmly. Every detail. Now get your fleet out of my sector immediately. The transmission ended. On the tactical display, the Vraxian fleet began a slow, ragged withdrawal, limping back toward their own territory. Emma sank into her command chair as the adrenaline finally drained away. Her hands were shaking. Captain, Helen Foster said gently. Are you all right? Emma looked around at her crew. I am all right. We all are. Somehow, we survived. The Endurance hung in space like a wounded bird, surrounded by protective Coalition vessels. Repair teams swarmed over the ship's damaged hull. Their small work craft darted back and forth like metallic insects. In the engineering bay, Robert Webb supervised the delicate process of stabilizing the quantum drive. He walked the Coalition engineers through the modifications he had made under extreme pressure. You overloaded your containment field and redirected it as a weapon. The Coalition engineer, an insectoid being named Click-12, made a chittering sound that the translator interpreted as amazed laughter. That should not be possible. The stress alone should have torn your ship into pieces. Should have torn us apart, yes, Robert interrupted, wiping sweat from his forehead. Believe me, I am very aware of that. But when you are surrounded by 127 warships, impossible becomes necessary very quickly. Click-12 examined the drive core with multiple eye stalks moving independently. Human engineering is very creative. Reckless, but creative. Your species may actually survive in this galaxy after all. In the medical bay, William Foster worked alongside a Coalition medical team to treat the crew's various injuries. His counterpart, a tall amphibian being, expressed fascination with human physiology. Your species heals quickly, the alien doctor observed. And your tolerance for stress is remarkable. Most species would have suffered complete psychological breakdown under the conditions you describe. William glanced at his patients. Thomas Riley, Lucy Martin, and Michael Torres all lay in biobeds, stable but injured. All of them had remained at their posts despite injuries and terror until the crisis finally ended. We are stubborn, William said simply. It is our worst quality and our best one at the same time. On the bridge, Emma Hayes sat across a conference table from Admiral Catherine Price. Between them floated a holographic display showing the entire encounter from multiple angles. Video feeds from the Endurance, sensor logs, even fragments of Vraxian communications that Coalition intelligence had intercepted. Walk me through your decision to overload the quantum drive, Admiral Price said seriously. That was one hell of a gamble to take. Emma leaned back in her chair. It was the only gamble we had available. Raxos was not interested in negotiation at all. He wanted our ship, our technology, and us either dead or in chains as prisoners. She gestured at the holographic display. We could surrender and hope for mercy from someone who had already shown he had none. Or we could fight with the only weapon we had available, which was our drive. Admiral Price studied the tactical replay, watching the Endurance flicker and phase as the quantum distortions erupted around it. Most captains would have surrendered immediately. Preserved their crew, hoped for diplomatic intervention later. Most captains were not where I was, Emma replied. I saw Raxos's face clearly, Admiral. He was not planning to take prisoners. This was about making an example. Showing the galaxy that humans are too dangerous and too unpredictable to be trusted with advanced technology. She met the Admiral's eyes. If we had surrendered, we would have disappeared. Raxos would have spun whatever story served the Vraxian Empire best, and there would not have been anyone left alive to contradict him. Admiral Price was silent for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Your instincts were correct. We have been monitoring Vraxian communications carefully. The orders Raxos received were deliberately ambiguous. He had authorization to neutralize the human technological threat by any means necessary. His superiors gave him room to interpret that however he wanted. Plausible deniability, Emma said bitterly. Exactly. If he had succeeded in capturing or destroying your ship, the Vraxian Empire could claim they were protecting galactic stability. If he failed, which he did, they could disavow him as a rogue commander acting beyond his authority. Admiral Price closed the holographic display. Captain, what you did here today is going to have major repercussions. Big ones. Half the Coalition is going to see you as a hero who stood up to a bully. The other half is going to see you as a dangerous maverick who escalated a situation that could have been resolved diplomatically. What do you see me as, Admiral? Admiral Price smiled, the expression transforming her stern face. I see a captain who protected her crew and her ship against impossible odds. I see someone who understood that sometimes the only way to win is to change the rules of the game completely. She stood, extending her hand. Welcome to galactic politics, Captain Hayes. It is a mess, but I think you are going to do just fine. Emma shook her hand firmly, feeling some of the tension leave her shoulders. Now, Admiral Price continued, let us talk about what happens next. Your ship will be ready for quantum travel in about 6 hours. I am assigning 2 destroyers to escort you back to human space safely. And when we reach Coalition headquarters, you are going to tell your story to the Council. All of it. No sugarcoating, no political spin. Just the complete truth. And what about Raxos? Admiral Price's expression hardened. Commander Raxos is currently experiencing what we call a career-limiting event. The Vraxian Empire is already distancing themselves from his actions publicly. He will be court-martialed by his own people, quietly stripped of command, and probably exiled to some remote outpost where he cannot embarrass them further. That is not enough, Emma said quietly. He killed Vraxian crew members with his recklessness. He nearly killed my entire crew. I agree completely. But politics is the art of the possible, not the perfect. The Vraxian Empire will not let us prosecute one of their commanders, even a disgraced one. But Admiral Price pulled up another holographic display. The Coalition Council is already drafting new protocols for first contact situations and technology disputes. Your sensor logs and recordings are going to be used as evidence for why military intimidation cannot be the default response to new technology. Emma studied the display carefully. It was something at least. A change in policy that might prevent another captain from facing what she had faced. There is something else you should know, Admiral Price said. Your broadcast, the one your communications officer managed to punch through Vraxian jamming? It did not just reach us. It reached everyone. News agencies, independent ships, diplomatic missions. For the last hour, your story has been spreading across every coalition world. Emma felt her stomach drop. How bad is it? Depends on your perspective. Some species are calling for restrictions on human technology. Others are praising your ingenuity and bravery. And humans? Admiral Price grinned. Captain, you are already a legend back home. The captain who faced down an entire fleet with nothing but cleverness and courage. Fleet Command is going to want to promote you, the media is going to want to interview you, and politicians are going to want to use you as a symbol. I do not want to be a symbol, Emma said. I just want to explore space. That is why I took this assignment. Too late for that, I am afraid. You made history today. Admiral Price's expression softened. But for what it is worth? You made the right calls. Every single one of them. Your crew is alive because of your decisions. Never forget that. After Admiral Price left, Emma walked through her ship, checking on her crew personally. She found Robert Webb in engineering, covered in grease and grinning like a maniac. Captain, you should see what the Coalition engineers think of our modifications. They are calling it inspired insanity. One of them wants to write an entire paper about what we did. Emma smiled despite her exhaustion. We nearly blew ourselves up, Robert. But we did not. That is the beautiful part. The theory was sound, the execution was perfect, and now we have proven that quantum drives can be used defensively in ways nobody ever imagined. He gestured at the drive core, now surrounded by scaffolding and repair equipment. This is going to change everything, Captain. Drive design, defensive systems, maybe even how we think about space-time manipulation. She found Beth Morrison in her quarters, staring at a screen filled with incoming messages. Captain, Beth said, looking up with wide eyes. There are thousands of messages. From Earth, from Coalition worlds, from everywhere. Everyone wants to know what happened, what we saw, what we felt. Emma sat down beside her communications officer. How are you holding up? Beth was quiet for a moment. I keep thinking about when I managed to get that signal through. It was maybe a 5-second window where the jamming field had a gap. If I had missed it. She looked at Emma. We would all be dead, would we not? Maybe, Emma admitted. Or maybe we would have found another way. We are good at that. Finding another way? Surviving when we should not. Emma squeezed Beth's shoulder. You saved us today. You and your skills on that communications console. Do not ever forget that. That night, Emma stood alone on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. The Coalition fleet formed a protective perimeter around the Endurance, their running lights creating artificial constellations. Helen Foster found her there. Cannot sleep? Helen asked, joining Emma at the viewport. Too much adrenaline still in my system, Emma admitted. Every time I close my eyes, I see that fleet surrounding us. That will fade, Helen said gently. Not completely, maybe never completely. But it will fade. How many Vraxians died today because of my decisions? Helen was quiet for a long moment. Coalition intelligence estimates between 50 and 80 casualties across the Vraxian fleet. Most from friendly fire incidents when their formation fell apart. Some from collisions. Emma closed her eyes. 50 to 80 people who were just following orders. Emma. Helen waited until the captain looked at her. Those deaths are on Raxos, not you. He chose to fire into his own formation. He chose to maintain a tight combat spread while blind firing. He chose to prioritize his ego over his crew's safety. She put a hand on Emma's arm. You made the choices that saved our crew. That is all a captain can do. It does not feel like enough. It never does. But it has to be. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. After a while, Helen spoke again. You know what the really interesting thing is? From a xenopsychology perspective. What is that? The Vraxians thought they could intimidate us because we are a young species. They expected us to follow their rules, their protocols, their way of thinking. Helen smiled slightly. They never considered that being young might also mean being innovative. Unburdened by tradition. Willing to try things that older species would never attempt. Emma considered that. So our inexperience was actually an advantage. In a way. You threw out every assumption about how a cornered ship should behave. You weaponized your own drive, flew through their formation, and broadcast evidence of their aggression to the entire galaxy. Helen looked out at the Coalition fleet. You just reminded them that the galaxy is still full of surprises. The journey home took 6 days instead of 4. The Endurance's quantum drive, despite the Coalition engineers' best efforts, could only operate at 60% capacity. Every jump required careful calibration, and twice they had to drop out of quantum space to let the overheated core cool down properly. Emma used the time to write her detailed report. Sitting in her quarters, she documented every decision, every moment of doubt, every split-second choice that had kept them alive. The words came slowly at first, then faster as she relived the terrifying encounter. On the 4th day, they received their first direct communication from Earth itself. Admiral Marcus Chen appeared on the viewscreen. He was a broad-shouldered man in his 70s, his face weathered by decades of military service. Captain Hayes, on behalf of Fleet Command and the people of Earth, welcome home. We have been following your situation very closely. The entire planet has been watching your sensor logs, reading your reports. You and your crew are heroes. Emma shifted uncomfortably. Sir, we were just trying to survive. And you did more than that. You showed the galaxy that humanity does not back down when challenged. That we are creative, resourceful, and willing to take risks that other species will not. Admiral Chen leaned forward. Captain, the political situation is complicated. Some coalition species are calling for restrictions on human quantum drive technology. Others are praising your actions. And here at home, there is a debate about whether we should be more cautious in our exploration or more aggressive in defending our rights. What do you think, sir? Admiral Chen smiled slightly. I think you did exactly what any good captain would do. You protected your crew and your ship using every resource at your disposal. I also think that the galaxy just learned an important lesson about underestimating humanity. The communication ended with orders to proceed to Coalition headquarters rather than Earth. Emma's testimony would be needed at the council session that was already being called the Vraxian Incident. As they docked at the massive Coalition station, Emma gathered her crew in the main conference room. 43 faces looked back at her, and she felt a surge of pride. What we went through out there was not supposed to happen, Emma began. We were an exploration vessel on a peaceful mission. We should have come home with survey data and maybe some pretty pictures of nebulae. A few crew members chuckled quietly. Instead, we came home with combat damage, injuries, and a story that is apparently making waves across the entire galaxy. Emma paused, making eye contact with as many crew members as she could. I want you all to know that I am proud of you. Every decision you made, every action you took, helped keep this ship and this crew alive. You trusted each other and you trusted me. That is what saved us. Thomas Riley raised his hand, wincing slightly as the motion pulled at his healing shoulder. Captain, what happens now? Are we in trouble? I do not think so, Emma said honestly. But there will be questions. Lots of them. Coalition investigators, military analysts, political advisors, they will all want to talk to us. Be honest. Tell them exactly what happened from your perspective. Just the truth. The Coalition hearing took place in a massive chamber that could accommodate hundreds of beings from dozens of different species. Emma stood at a podium in the center, surrounded by holographic displays showing sensor data, video feeds, and tactical analyses of the encounter. The council members sat in a raised semicircle. Representatives from every major Coalition species filled the seats. Emma recognized the crystalline Lumina ambassador, whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns. The massive Gorvan Counselor, a species known for their military strength. The delicate floating wisps, beings of pure energy contained in specialized suits. The Luminar ambassador, serving as the session chair, spoke first. Her voice came through translators as a melodious chime. Captain Emma Hayes of Earth, you stand before this council to provide testimony regarding the incident in Sector 447. Do you understand the gravity of this session? I do, Ambassador, Emma replied. Then proceed with your account. Emma took a deep breath and began. She walked them through every detail. The appearance of the Vraxian fleet, Commander Raxos's ultimatum, the decision to overload the quantum drive, the chase, the arrival of Admiral Price's coalition force. She did not spare herself. She acknowledged the Vraxian casualties, the risks her decisions had placed on her crew, the possibility that different choices might have led to a different outcome. When she finished, the chamber was silent. Then the questions began. The Gorvan counselor leaned forward, his massive frame intimidating. Captain Hayes, your actions resulted in significant Vraxian casualties. Do you feel remorse for these deaths? Emma met his eyes steadily. I feel regret, Counselor. Those Vraxian crew members were following orders. They did not choose this confrontation. But I also know that if I had not acted as I did, my entire crew would be dead. Given the same situation, I would make the same choices. A wisp representative flickered with light. You weaponized your quantum drive in a manner never before documented. Did you consider the broader implications? In the moment? No, Emma admitted. I considered survival. But since then, yes, I have thought about it extensively. Technology is not good or evil. It is how we choose to use it that matters. The questions continued for hours. Some counselors were clearly sympathetic, others skeptical, a few openly hostile. Emma answered each question as honestly as she could. 3 days later, the council reconvened. The Luminar ambassador's crystalline form seemed to glow brighter as she addressed the chamber. After extensive deliberation and review of evidence, this council has reached several conclusions regarding the incident in Sector 447. Emma felt her heart pound. First, Captain Emma Hayes and the crew of the Earth vessel Endurance acted in legitimate self-defense against an unprovoked attack. No charges will be filed. Emma felt the tension drain from her shoulders. Second, Commander Raxos of the Vraxian Imperial Fleet exceeded his authority and violated coalition protocols. The Vraxian Empire has agreed to discipline Commander Raxos and has issued formal apologies. The ambassador paused. Third, the modifications made to the Endurance's quantum drive represent a significant advancement in space-time manipulation technology. This council recommends that humanity share these innovations with the broader scientific community. In return, we pledge to ensure that such technology is used only for defensive purposes. And fourth, this incident has revealed gaps in our protocols. We are establishing a committee to review and update these protocols, and we invite Earth to participate fully. The ambassador's form brightened. Captain Hayes, you and your crew have conducted yourselves with honor, ingenuity, and courage. You have demonstrated that humanity's place in this galactic community is secure. This council extends its gratitude for your service. 2 weeks later, the Endurance finally reached Earth. The ship had been fully repaired at Coalition facilities. It gleamed in the sunlight as it approached the orbital station above humanity's homeworld. Emma stood on the bridge, watching Earth grow larger on the view screen. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. Home. Captain, Beth Morrison said quietly, we are receiving a transmission from Earth Orbital Command. They are asking if we would like a formal welcome. What does that entail? Beth grinned. An honor guard of 12 ships and a reception attended by basically everyone important on the planet. Emma groaned but smiled. Accept their offer. The reception was overwhelming. Hundreds of people packed the station's main concourse, cheering as the Endurance crew disembarked. But the moment Emma would remember most came later. She stood alone in an observation lounge, looking down at Earth, when a young girl approached her. The girl could not have been more than 10 years old, her eyes wide with excitement. Are you really Captain Hayes? The girl asked. I am, Emma said, kneeling down to the girl's eye level. You fought a whole fleet with just one ship. Everyone says you are the bravest person alive. Emma shook her head gently. I was not brave. I was scared. Really, really scared. But I had a crew depending on me, and I could not let them down. But you won, the girl insisted. That is what being brave means, Emma said. Being scared but doing what needs to be done anyway. My crew was just as brave. Every single person on my ship did their job perfectly, even when they were terrified. That is what saved us. The girl thought about this, then smiled. I want to be a captain someday. Like you. Emma felt her throat tighten. Then study hard. Learn everything you can. Be curious about the universe. And remember that the best captains are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who learn from those mistakes and never stop trying to do better. The girl nodded and ran off to rejoin her parents. Emma stood and returned to the viewport. Somewhere out there, beyond Earth's orbit, beyond the solar system, the galaxy turned. Millions of stars, billions of worlds, countless opportunities for exploration and discovery. Her communicator chirped. It was Admiral Chen. Captain, when you have a moment, I would like to discuss your next assignment. Emma smiled. Next assignment, sir? We just got back. I know. But the galaxy keeps spinning, Captain. And humanity needs explorers like you out there. He paused. Besides, I have a feeling you would go crazy sitting behind a desk. Emma looked out at the stars and felt that familiar pull. The call of the unknown, the promise of discovery. No, sir, she said. You are not wrong. When do we leave? 2 months of leave. Rest, recover, see your families. Then we will talk about outfitting a new ship. Understood, sir. We will be ready. Emma turned from the viewport, carrying with her the knowledge that had been burned into her soul. Nothing could stop humanity once they set their minds to something. Not overwhelming odds. Not superior technology. Not even the certainty of defeat. Humans had one advantage no other species could match. They were too stubborn to know when they should give up. And that would carry them to the stars.